you are totally going to turn this off mid-episode. We'll talk about it this time on Fire Footwear. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Fire Footwear. As always, I am your host, Matt. I hope that this finds you well. It's a new week. I want to welcome everybody back who has been here for a while. I want to welcome everybody who is brand new. It doesn't really matter how you got here, when you got here, or how long you plan on staying. I appreciate every single one of you for spending one iota of your time on this podcast. And I feel like I want to get one or two things out of the way before we get started. First thing, if you are watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, I'd appreciate a subscribe. If you are listening in the audio space, there is a video component to this on Apple and Spotify. And also there is a YouTube channel, Fire Footwear Sneakers Talk, if you want to check that out. And if you're interested in my filmmaking stuff, Matt Freight's on YouTube is another channel you can check out. Go there and subscribe, rate, review, whatever is applicable for whatever kind of content of mine that you are going to listen to. I've said this before, and coming into this week, I had a plan. And my plan was, as today is Kobe Day, to talk about Kobe's. And I was going to do so with a listener of the show, Will. And this is the second year in a row that we have missed Kobe Day. And I want to apologize to Will publicly and say that I'm sorry for ghosting you again this year, but I've been going through it a little bit, and we're going to get to that Kobe talk when it's appropriate. It's just not happening right now on Kobe Day. The reason that I am pivoting is because there has been sort of a convergence of life events or milestones that's happening this week. And I said at the top of the show that you were going to turn it off. And the reason that I said that is because I recognize that 183 episodes in, you are here for Sneaker Talk. You are here for my opinions on this commodity that we all love, and you don't really care about the personal stuff. And this isn't an indictment of you. It certainly isn't anything about you personally. It's just, I know what the analytics have said. I know the way that content works. People don't want more of you than what they have subscribed on for. And you came here for sneaker talk and sneaker opinions. And the episodes that I've done that has delved into more personal matters just hasn't performed as well or haven't performed as well. And I think that that is just par for the course for creating content. But I needed to talk about this, and I think there's a sneaker element to it, but there's a convergence, like I said. 5 years ago, a big milestone happened in my life, and it was 5 years ago this week that my mom passed away. I've talked about that on this podcast before. I've talked about it on YouTube. I've done videos about it. I will continue to talk about it every single year. And the reason that I will continue to do so is because losing a parent, losing a loved one is a major event in your life. It signifies the end of something that will never restart again. Things in life are cyclical. Things come and go, they start and stop. We have ebbs and flows with certain elements of our lives. That could happen with friendships, that could happen with jobs, it could happen with anything. As we go along in life, the cycle of life continues and we sort of pop in and out of things. Life is the only thing that we can't pop in and out of. Once it's over, it's over. And this week marks 5 years since my mom passed away in August of 2021. It changed many things for me. I've talked a lot about the complicated nature of that relationship. I've talked about the fact that not everything was great. Not every year was great. But when we came to the end, I came to an understanding of who she was, and that was everything that she was. It's hard to do this podcast without thinking about that, because no matter whether you came here for sneakers or whether you personally know me or whatever it is, you have to understand that every content creator, podcaster, whatever, is a human being under this veil. Behind this microphone, in front of the camera, off camera, we are all human beings. And if we're doing it right, or at least I believe doing it right, then we're the same person here as we are off camera or off microphone. You're just getting a ramped up version of us in the content space. Who I am was defined by who she was, in both positive and negative ways. But that's one thing. The other thing, and I think it's a positive thing, is 5 years ago, I started this podcast, and I started it after she had passed away. So it was right around this time. And 5 years have passed, 183 episodes have come and gone, or almost at this point, and there is no sign that I'm going to be giving this up anytime soon. I think I started it after she passed because I learned so much about myself through her passing and through the tumultuous relationship that we had, especially the last 6 or 7 years. And one thing that I discovered in time away from her in our estrangement was that I could be who I wanted to be. And sneakers was a huge representation of that. When I was younger, she used to tell me that if I wore sneakers or hats or starter jackets, I could only do so for such a small period of time because I needed to be an adult. I needed people to see me as an adult. As if you couldn't do both, as if you couldn't have two parts of your personality. You couldn't be work person and you couldn't be personal person. It couldn't possibly be that way. And so when I got into sneakers, it represented taking something back for myself. And this podcast, talking about it and evolving through this podcast has meant so much to me. If you have been listening since the beginning, and I know that there are people who have, then you know that the way that I started, the topics that I talked about are different. When I got into it, I thought that I was going to break new ground. I thought that I was going to get recognized, and I thought that I was going to do it differently than anybody else has done it. It was a naive way to think about it, but in 2021, coming off of the pandemic, I think a lot of people felt like they were going to get into the content game and just light it up. That Nike was going to send the bag, whoever was going to send the bag, and that was going to be it. And I think that I did it in earnest. I wanted to be good at it. And when I think back on it and listen back on it, I struggled. And I struggled because I didn't have an identity of who I was. I was still kind of figuring that out. And so in this 5-year time period, yes, there was a small gap. But ever since I brought back the pod and called it Fire Footwear, I feel as if it has grown the way that it's supposed to grow. There have been genuine connections made between me and you, genuine connections made through this podcast, through social media with other people in the space. I'm not going to name everybody here because that would do a disservice to all the great people out there that I've met. And I don't have to have an everyday connection with those folks for it to be meaningful. It just has to be a connection of some type. And for 5 years, and all the episodes I've done, all the videos and reels that I've made, there have been genuine connections that have come out of this. And the reason why I think these two things are related is because coming out of that loss, I created something. There was a birth. And it was really the birth of me figuring out who Matt Freites was going to be as a human being now in my 40s. People may laugh at that and think, how did you not know? Not everybody figures it out right away. But also, one thing that's happened this week is my son started first grade, and it's a rebirth of a different kind. In sneakers, to bring it back to the subject that you're here for, I find that we tend to be thinking about our past in sneakers a lot because if we've been involved for a certain amount of time, we think about the old days. I think that it's pretty common for people to think about their life, think about their past, think about the good times, and reminisce. And that's why I think nostalgia is so big. I think that's why people want retros, because they want to remember those times. They want to go back to those times to get the vibes back sometimes, because as adults, life can life, man. And you just need the good vibes. I think we also spend a lot of time, especially here, talking about our present. Where are sneakers today? And what is the big trend, or what are the big trends? Why are they where they are? Why does Nike have a disconnect? So many things about the present state of sneakers. I mean, every single year, somebody asks, are sneakers dead? Are sneakers thriving? Whatever, right? So we're thinking about our present. And that's the two things that I mentioned before. My mom is my past. The podcast, still doing it today, that's my present. And my son represents both my present and the future. And I think in sneakers, we think about the future a lot because I believe we're looking ahead so often. We see early looks of things, we get leaks, and we're also, as content creators, a lot of times trying to predict what's going to happen in sneakers. Where are sneakers going to be in 5 to 10 years? I know I'm guilty of that because I talk about how are we going to give it to the next generation? How are we going to bridge that gap? Watching my son take his first steps into first grade, watching him own it, it makes me feel good about my future that I'm leaving this earth. I watch him. He's not doing it all perfectly. I'm not doing it all perfectly at 43. Does anybody do it perfectly? And I watch him go in there and own it. And I think to myself, every time I watch him do something special, that's the best thing I've ever created. Nothing I create from that day to now to in the future will ever eclipse what I created when I helped to create that human being. And all of this is converging this week, and it's heavy. And it's not all heavy in a bad way. Sometimes there is good weight to be had emotionally from things that happen. You hear a lot of talk about nostalgia lately and about people living in the past and wanting to cop a shoe because it brings them back to a certain time in their life. Some people can get on board with that. Some people can't get on board with that. But for some, that emotional weight that is carried by a sneaker, let's say it is related to a dead relative, a dead parent, or a friend who's no longer with us, or a time in your life that you don't feel like is going to come back because maybe, just maybe, your life peaked when you were a kid and it feels like you're never going to get out of there now. That shoe could represent something that has a lot of weight. All three of these life milestones that are converging on me this week all carry with them their own weight. They all carry something unique. And I think about the time that has passed since my mom passed. I think about the time that has passed since our first podcast together. And most importantly, I think about the time that has passed since my son was born. Ups and downs, trials and tribulations, some good things, some bad things. Luckily for me, more good than bad. And there's a future to be had. Where are we going? I feel so fortunate to have lived the life that I've lived. I feel so fortunate to have around me people that love me, people that support me. This community means a lot to me. It's important, I think, that we stay present in our lives. It's important that we take inventory and we get away from the shoes sometimes. And as great as sneakers are, it's one small sliver of who we are, or it should be one small sliver of who we are. And the reason that I opened by saying you're going to turn this off is because today, the way that our minds work, I don't think we give enough time for all of the elements in our lives. I don't think that we give enough time, enough bandwidth to really important matters, things that are happening in our space, emotional moments that we need to be there for, need to be present for. It's not about just being physically present. It's about being emotionally present. Are we there when our kids hit these milestones? Are we with them in full mind and spirit at the same time? Are we taking inventory of what we're thankful for? Do we have gratitude? Yes, bad things are going to happen. Yes, we're going to miss out on shoes. We're not going to get to cop shoes, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, there are going to be times in your life where moments will converge the way that they are for me. And when I thought about what I wanted to talk about this week, I put Will on the back burner because I needed to talk about the weight of what was happening in my mind and translate it to you. But the ultimate message here is not negative. The ultimate message is not preachy. The message from me, thinking about the convergence of all of these things, thinking about the time that has passed, the growth that I have done, there's two words that come to mind when I think about these past 5 years. Thank you. This is Fire Footwear.